Hey everybody, welcome back to the Brave Fence and Musashi commentary. Continuing our adventure, going through. We're actually going to be fully exploring Meandering Forest now because we rescued. Well, we didn't really rescue John from the stocks just yet, but the key to his stocks is in Meandering Forest, but only his dog Leno knows the precise location. So we got to go meet up with Leno deep within this forest. So we're going to go do just that.
What is he in the stocks for?
That's never really explained. Like, he's just in the stocks. Like, upon first meetup, he's already in the stocks. It's never explained.
So, the townsfolk don't have anything to say about this?
No, to my knowledge, not really.
Because normally you have to do something bad to be put in there.
That is true. Well, it's funny because the mayor is the one that tells us to talk to the man in the stocks about Musashi, or the legend of Musashi and the Five Scrolls. So, I don't know why he's in the stocks. I don't know what he did. And why the mayor is perfectly okay with letting us talk to him. Not really explained.
You know, as you do,
knowledge.
you let the local 8-year-olds talk to the locked-up criminals. You know.
All right. So I'm taking a snooze here because this is our first introduction to Minkus. Minkus are these cute little white fluffy creatures available at your local Toys R Us. And you want to nab them because if you manage to grab one and toss it, they give you a longevity berry, which is a permanent increase to your maximum health.
Can you do that as many times as you
25.
want?
No. There's only 13 in the game, and they're in specific locations, but they're only out at night. They're nocturnal. And grabbing Minkus can either be something you do on your first try or your 72nd. It is extremely frustrating because they are very random with how they move, and the grab button is also your attack button. So most of the time, you're not grabbing them, you're attacking them, and that doesn't do anything. It will get easier later when we get the water scroll, our water ability, but we'll save that for later. In the meantime, this is a 100% playthrough. We will be rescuing all the residents. We'll be getting all the Minkus, showing all the optional stuff off. The only thing I won't be really getting are all the action figures. In fact, I won't be even setting foot inside the toy store where you can purchase them. That's more like just a completionist thing. Doesn't really add to anything.
Oh, it's like the figure things in Wind Waker.
Yeah, it's almost exactly like that. You know, you need them.
Literally pointless.
You need the figures in order to get like the bonus perfect ending screen. You get Musashi in a bikini or some other shit. I don't know, but no, it's not necessary for 100%. 100% is technically rescuing all the residents and grabbing all the Minkus, and getting all the legendary armor pieces, because not all of them are permanent as well.
Where did this Harry Potter witch come from?
Sir Beverly is the fortune teller of All You Can Eat Kingdom, but she can't predict her own future, which she comments on right there. It's like, it really sucks that you can't predict your own future. Otherwise, you probably couldn't avoid being captured.
So if you save a person, do you get like more town stuff in town?
Yeah, so rescuing residents not only just permanently increases your BP, well, it's also mandatory in some cases because later down the road, to jump ahead here, before we fight our first major elemental boss, we need to rescue 4 specific people to help us gain access to the arena to fight the boss in. So you have to rescue those guys, and if you unlock Sir Beverly here, she can pinpoint where the location where the guys are at. She can't give you she can only give an approximation, not the exact location, so it does help. But in that case, you need to rescue like the 4 soldiers and 2 carpenters. Sometimes you need to rescue mercenaries to help get access to this other location. Those are the mandatory rescues that you need.
I like this idea of Musashi pogo sticking on his goddamn katana, mostly because there's like no way that would work with a katana, even if you could bounce on a sword, because katanas are flimsy.
Musashi can do it though.
But katanas are the bestest swords that have ever been made.
Doubt.
Hey, they are perfectly good at cutting limbs off of bodies, but you gotta be careful about how you swing them, that's all.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this gameplay segment here is that we found Leno. Leno's going to lead us to the key to John's stocks.
Lost Wood XP number 60 million.
Basically, yeah, this place is very much Lost Woods. If you go the wrong way, you're teleported back to the beginning, so you have to wait for Leno to sniff out the right pathway. Fortunately, Leno can get a little lost himself, because he will make a mad dash to the pathway he thinks is right, but then he'll immediately make a U-turn, like to the other side. So don't immediately go to where Leno is running. Wait for him to start barking. And that's the right pathway.
Do you know if this place is the same every time, or if like can you do it?
You have to wait for Leno to bark.
Okay, so there's no...
Otherwise, the next area doesn't load.
Okay, all right. It's one of those kinds of situations.
Yeah. There is a second trip to Meandering Forests later down the road where you can go ahead of time if you know the right path. You don't have to really wait for anything, but that's not until Chapter 4. Chapter 4. So it won't be before a bit for that one. But speaking on hopping on swords like a pogo stick, that is pretty much the inherent ability of our sword that was given to us, Fusion. We have 2 swords in this game. It's Fusion, that's our regular katana, and there's Lumina, the fuck you sword. And both do different things. Fusion is usually your means of basic attacks. It can also absorb enemies and give you their special ability. Most of them suck, not gonna lie. In fact, the one thing about Brave Phantom Musashi is that it doesn't really tap into the potential of absorbing enemies and using their ability. It's no Kirby. Let's put it that way.
Wait, did you say Kirby?
Some of them are... Yes. This is post that video, so it's fine.
So it's more like absorbing souls of enemies in a Castlevania game where you're gonna be using a few of them.
Well, that's one thing I liked about Aria of Sorrow is that most of them were at least fun. You know, like there were definitely some that were better than others, but you know that.
And that is the case with pretty much Brave Phantom Musashi. Is that the good ones are really good. Everyone else is kind of mediocre. Some are just garbage, as we'll show later. But that's basically what Fusion amounts to, besides basic combos. Lumina is your hard-hitting sword. It's a long swing, though. It's a large sword, so you can't swing it very fast. But you're mostly using that to break Bincho fields. And you can do a spin attack by holding down the R1 button and hitting triangle. Lumina is also pretty much what you're going to be using to unlock the power of the 5 scrolls. The 5 scrolls are basically elemental attacks. There's one for earth, one for water, one for fire, one for wind, and one for sky, because sky's an element in this game. I don't know why.
Wouldn't it suck if you sold the key?
Well, you can't. But, it's like, ooh, you got it? Ooh.
There are some games that you can do that in, though.
Really?
Yeah, like, God, I'm trying to remember some specific examples.
All right.
Okay, so don't quote me on this. I think you might be able to sell some key items in the original Japanese Dragon Quest II, but if you reset the game, they all reappear because it's based off of a password, and the game can't remember which key items are picked up where with passwords. So they just all respawn. And you can do that to farm multiple legendary armors and things like that, too.
It's not so legendary.
Man. I know that, like, it's not necessarily the same as selling a key item off, but in the Ultima series, it became a running joke that you could find some way to kill Lord British in every entry. They even managed it in the MMORPG because Lord British was actually playing his character at one point and forgot to turn invincibility on, so someone managed to kill him then. But, like, whenever you kill Lord British in one of the games, you're basically causing a dead game.
Because you can't save, right?
Not because you can't save, but you can't do anything else without Lord British. He's kind of important. So you're killing a key plot character, but you're allowed to do it. There's also that one spell that kills every NPC in the world except the bad guy and Lord British. So,
what?
Yeah.
Oops.
It's the Armageddon spell. The best part is, like, in Ultima 9, the Armageddon spell is plot important, because you have to set up this barrier around you and the final boss, so that you can cast the Armageddon spell without it affecting anything outside there. So you kill yourself and the final boss with it.
Cool.
Ultima 9 had good ideas. It was just, you know, a very, very, very bullshit development cycle. Yeah, did you know that, like, the first MMORPG ever made was a result of EA being blatantly mismanaging of Origin systems? Yeah. They saw dollar signs. So they took the entire team off Ultima 9 to work on Ultima Online. And then, well, by the time they got back to it, it was that time when computer technology was going really fast. So they had to start over. Now with even less time to work.
Oh.
This is cool.
Yeah, Breakfast Musashi does take advantage of the 3D environments to make some dynamic camera angles, and it's pretty cool in that regard. We're going to be seeing it, though, and I would say the biggest problem with Musashi just structurally is that although there are a few different areas of the game, we have Grillin Village, Meandering Forest, Twin Peak Mountain, and the mines. That's pretty much it. You're backtracking a lot in this game. Like, you are going through the same areas repeatedly, either because the plot dictates so, you have extra abilities now that you can get this one thing you couldn't get beforehand.
Isn't that just Metroid, though?
See, what Metroid, though, at the very least, there are multiple things you can get on the pathway that you couldn't explore before. Musashi is pretty much the one thing you couldn't get before, and then you can just leave. We'll see it here with some Bincho fields later down the road. Sometimes it's like a Minku power-up, if you didn't know it was there beforehand. It's really backtrack heavy. It's still a relatively short game, all things considered, but it's like, if you were to it'd be like a 2-hour game if you got rid of all the backtracking.
Yeah. Part of that, I think, is because of space limitations. Because I don't think they wanted to make this another multi-disc epic.
Yeah, it is only one disc.
But the other thing, though, is that a lot of ambitious projects that don't have a lot of time to work with end up reusing content a lot in order to try and spread themselves out a little.
Also helps that this game does not have any FMVs. Everything is real
well, that's
time.
probably why they can. That's probably why they can fit so many voice acting things in there. Because they didn't bother with FMVs.
But audio and regular graphical and gameplay data isn't the big space hog in PlayStation 1 games. It's the FMVs. Final Fantasy VII was the same game on 3 discs with different FMVs for the most part.
Yeah, but I mean, voice acting definitely does take up not as much space as FMVs.
Oh, it takes up more space, certainly.
So they
more than the music, because the music is most of the I think all of the music tracks in this game are sequenced within the PlayStation itself. Which will probably explain why half of the songs don't appear in the official soundtrack of this game. And no, I'm not letting that go. I'm still angry about that. Dude, I mentioned all right. So I played this game for SGB years ago. It was one of the first we ever did. It was back with just me and Elliot. And I think I mentioned the fact that this song that we're hearing right now that I really like is not a part of the official soundtrack release.
The fact that it even has an official soundtrack is something, though.
Well, it was actually a lot more common in Japan for that kind of thing to happen.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't ever happen over here, though.
And Squaresoft did it for basically every game they made.
Right.
It's just it's only starting to be a thing that is a regular release for Western games because now we have MP3 downloads, so it doesn't really...
and streaming services.
Yeah, MP3 download. The point is digital distribution allows companies to do things for things they don't think will sell particularly well because they don't have to worry about manufacturing costs.
It's basically free to put the MP3 files of a game's soundtrack onto Spotify, so the fact that they don't do it more kind of surprises me.
It's kind of baffling, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's not free. I'm sure they have to pay something for licensing or whatever, but it's cheap. I have to imagine cheaper than
what it used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because you're at least cutting on distribution.
I remember when Mario Odyssey came out and Jump Up Superstar was put on the Apple iTunes Store, and it was, I don't know if it was number 1, but it made the top 10 list, and it's just wow,
It's if only you had the hindsight to do that with your Galaxy score back when it was new.
Oh, dude, don't get me started about that because the Galaxy soundtrack was a Club Nintendo freebie in Japan only.
It's not even not even a third of the soundtrack.
Yeah, but I mean, they got it, and we got pencils or a sticker, And I'm salty about Club Nintendo. Okay.
Club Nintendo Japan was always better than everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Nintendo gave no shits about their Western audience regarding that service.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the soundtrack was composed by Tsuyoshi Sakido, who this game was his first composition he made for Square. He would later stick with Square to make future soundtracks or arrangements. He would also be responsible for arranging the soundtrack for Final Fantasy II in the Origins collection, and it's really fucking obvious that it was him because he uses the same instruments from Musashi. And when I hear those soundtracks from that game, I'm thinking, is this like a long-lost Musashi soundtrack I never heard of? It's like, oh, no, it's just the dude arranged it, and it's really obvious.
Any other big games he's been on?
Let me see here. That depends on big, because before Square, he helped compose music for Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake for the
that's something,
MSX2.
at least.
That's something, yeah. A lot of licensed products like Tiny Two Adventures, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Square has really hit his stride, though. Like, that's where he got the most work. A lot of Final Fantasy stuff here, a lot of arrangements. He's also one of the electric guitarists for the Black Mages, Nobuo Uematsu's band.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. He's still working to this day. Last thing he did was Kingdom Hearts 3, along with Yoko Shimomura and Takeharu Ishimoto. So the guy still has work, is still healthily employed.
Are we using a katana to cut down trees and then cut the firewood into...
We're using Lumina to cut the trees down.
Oh,
yes.
okay. But like you then took your katana and cut up the tree once you cut it down with your katana. No,
Katanas can cut anything.
stop,
They're the best
Musashi.
swords
You're gonna
ever.
break your sword.
No, Lumina's magical. It's always fusion. Fusion is enhanced by alchemy.
I was gonna say magic doesn't make your weapon unbreakable, but then I remembered Baldur's Gate.
It's magic.
Yeah.
And then I remembered Baldur's Gate, and I'm like, yeah, magic does make your weapon unbreakable for some reason.
I mean, magic can be fallible. You know,
Oh,
That's also the case. That's also the case in Fire Emblem. Falchion is unbreakable.
It's a weird quirk of Baldur's Gate's story. Okay, there's an iron crisis where there's a lot of corrupted iron that's making metal products unreliable. So your weapons all have a random save scummable chance of breaking at random during battle. Until you get the magic +1 and so on weapons, because the game developers had mercy on everyone and decided to make them entirely unbreakable. This is like, yeah, no one wants to have their +1 sword break on them. So the moment you find a magical weapon in Baldur's Gate 1, it's just like you sigh in relief because now you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's like you're not looking for the damage boost, you're looking for a weapon that won't break on you.
essentially.
You know, if you don't feel like saves coming after every time you hit something.
Yeah.
All right, so this is where the game starts showing a bit of its jank. The platforming of this game is very hit and miss. You know, I feel it's because the collision detection wasn't fine-tuned to the best of its ability. There are times where, in that instance, where you're climbing up that giant rib cage, that's what I like to call it anyway, you will clearly fall through the bone. Even though it looks like you're clear on top of it. Yeah, it's not... The platforming of this game is not perfect. We'll get the worst of it later down the road. I can mention when. But it is pretty finicky and kind of frustrating.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes these older, half-forgotten gems are somewhat charming in how they're flawed, too. But at the same time, I just have to shake my head at Square because they took until, what was it, Final Fantasy 13-2 to get jumping right.
Well, when you put it that way, that sounds really pathetic. Yeah, I guess. Well, no, 10-2 was automated as hell, though, so it's not really a jump.
Oh yeah, 10-2 kind of just had these places that you clicked on and you automatically jumped to the next place. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about actually having a
just
jump
jumping
button.
in general, yeah.
Did they have an actual jump button in 13-2, or am I thinking of a different game?
I can't tell you.
I
know
remember.
those are jump button in Kingdom Hearts. You know.
The jumping in Kingdom Hearts is, at least the first one,
Weird.
Is awkward.
Bad.
Awkward. It's awkward. Yeah, awkward. Bad. Yeah.
It's stiff. I mean, I like the explorative elements of the areas, but when I have to do the Tarzan level, I get a bit like, I don't want to play this game anymore for a little bit there.
This perspective is a bit weird.
Yeah, okay, so to go back to the story here, John was willing to tell us more about the legendary Brave Fence of Musashi, but he didn't want to do it at the village. He wanted to do it at the top of Twin Peak Mountain. So he told us to cut 4 logs on the way up, which is why we were chopping down the trees, to make a makeshift raft. Because he believes that at the end of this treacherous pathway is one of the legendary scrolls that Musashi needs to collect. And he's right about that. Well, not so much about the legendary scroll, but the legendary armor that the legendary Brave Fence of Musashi had to help him save the day. So he thinks that at the end of this pathway he can find something. So we had to make this raft. And this sequence is pretty much it's a glorified minigame. Each log of the raft is a hit point, basically. You can only get hit 4 times. Otherwise, it's an instant game over.
I do like how they make those logs the hit points and then visually justify it by having Musashi surf on the raft.
Oh yeah, there's nothing more pathetic than watching Musashi exit this area swimming on a single log. It's like, wow, what the hell happened in there, Musashi?
Surfing on a log sounds badass. It's like, if you didn't know the game mechanics and what that one log means, it looked pretty cool.
Cuts and bruises, sure. But if you want to get everything in the game as early as possible, you got to play that raft game 3 times. You can, I should stress, as early as possible. You know, if you wait...
So you're going to do that.
I'm going to do that because I know I can and because, whatever, it makes it easier to edit. If you wait until you get the water scroll ability, which allows you to walk on water, you can get to the areas where the raft drops you off yourself without having to play the minigames. But you can also just do it now if you know they're there, so I do it now.
You see, but wouldn't it be faster to wait for it, though?
It'd be more convenient. Because I have to head back up to Twin Peak Mountain anyway. So yeah, I'm going to show off the way they want you to go. Because that was a detour that I took, technically. And Brave Fence of Musashi doesn't have autosaving. I mean, that should be obvious.
PlayStation 1
okay.
game, yeah.
So make sure you save often. Now, granted, in scenarios like this, where death can come pretty easily, they give you a checkpoint. If you die here, you reset at the beginning of this minigame.
I'm trying to think. If any PlayStation 1 games had autosaving, or do you just mean checkpoints?
Just autosaving and I mean they're kind of the same in my opinion.
Well, I mean, do you get like a game over, and then if you get like a game over and die, you lose all your progress?
You lose, yeah. You either so there's 2 methods of saving in Musashi. You probably saw one of them earlier. There's the traditional saving, which you can only do at an inn, and save your progress and all that. And there's also memory boxes. Those are located in specific treasure chests here and there. And you can use those as checkpoints, because if you die, you can choose to reload from your save file or go to the last checkpoint box that you worked. However, using a checkpoint box costs half of your money.
Oh, so it's Dragon Quest, okay.
Basic, or Pokemon, I guess.
Dragon Quest did it first, so it would be Dragon Quest.
Oh, did Dragon Quest take half your money if you went through a checkpoint?
Yeah, well, whenever you died, in Dragon Quest 1, that's how it starts. Whenever you die, you go back to the king and you lose half your money. And then it does that in every game since. Well, I guess technically not in 11, because that has a normal-ass autosave, but,
Either way, save your game often, because if you die and you didn't use a memory box, ouch.